So applying it to less severe crimes such as theft and burglary is one thing, but to the degree to which restorative programs can be applied to things like rape or severe betrayal crimes, murders, that may be more problematic, though it is becoming more common for victims to confront murderers. This tends to happen in courts. So in the British court system, victim statement can now be read before sentencing, which details the effect that crime's had on them. It's not quite restorative because we haven't got all the stakeholders involved in the same way, but it's moving towards a more restorative approach. Is it effective? Well, the UK Restorative Justice Council reports 85% satisfaction for victims who take part in these face-to-face meetings. Somerset reported a 92.5% satisfaction for victims, even for violent offences. So this suggests that for the victims, at least, it is a useful measure, a useful activity helping them get over the trauma of that particular offence. Sherman and Strang, 2007, reviewed 20 studies of face-to-face meetings between offender and victim in the US, UK and Australia. All studies showed reoffending rates. In one study, restorative justice resulted in a reoffending rate of 11% compared to reduced sentencing strategy, which resulted in 37%. This suggests it can have huge benefits. And there are many advantages over things like custodial sentencing, which is, first of all, highly expensive, but punishment is still involved. Being confronted by the victim of your crime is not easy, I imagine, and having them sit across from you and explain why you've made their life worse has got to be quite harrowing. Most crime is committed, almost against strangers, or committed against corporations that you don't really interact with, but there's no face to the crime, and this can actually make that quite a difficult act when you have to confront the victims. Removal of deviant influences, so you're not putting people in prison. Remember these anger factories where you're putting them in prison surrounded by other violent criminals, often to learn and to normalise their behaviour. So that could be a positive. Restorative Justice Council claims that for every £8, £1 spent on restorative justice, we save £8. Now this is huge, given the cost of incarcerating a prisoner in the UK is £65,000 for the first year and then £45,000 for subsequent years. It would be cheaper to send them to university than to hold them in prison. But it may only work with some offenders. Those who admit culpability, impulsive psychotic criminals, it may not work for as well. There are some ethical issues. It can result in harm to the victim if the offender is allowed, for example, to make them relive the event or to accuse them of being complicit, especially in crimes like rape. It could harm the offender as well. Victims could gang up if there are multiple victims in a restorative setting. Victims could gang up on the offender, especially if the offender is quite young. This may be a problem. And the benefits should always be balanced to maximise benefits for both offender and victim in order for it to be restorative. There's a good article in the Guardian. I'll try and leave the link in the description. Restorative justice, why I confronted the man who raped me. Now, we said that maybe restorative justice isn't useful for those sort of crimes, but this is a very quite powerful article about one woman who engaged in this type of restorative justice for such a heinous crime. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you very much for your time, and I will see you next time.